Hi guys, and welcome to our review of the latest all-new, brand new Toyota Avalon. This is the 5th generation of the car. Yes, it's actually been around that long. And you may be thinking, well, it's just a pimped up Camry, right? No, this is actually based on the Lexus ES platform, which of course is longer. It gives it a bit more, it's more wheelbase, and it gives it more interior room, which we'll have a look at in a minute. Of course, it is related to the Camry, but it is quite distinctive. Now, I'll give you a couple of facts on the Avalon before we get too much into the detail and the nitty-gritty. Now, the thing is that if you remember, the Avalon originally replaced the Cressida. And that was the top of the line Toyota back in the day, and that got replaced, I think it was in the early 90s, maybe 92 or 93, something like that. This car actually replaced that, hence it is meant to be a distinctive car from the Camry. It's meant to be a little bit more upmarket, and of course it is. The other thing is, you may be wondering, why the name Avalon? Why didn't they just continue to name Cressida? Well, I don't know why they didn't, because actually Cressida is a good name. But as for Avalon, well, it continues the tradition of Toyota naming their saloons with some aspect related to royalty. So Avalon actually is the mythical island in the legends of King Arthur. It's the place where the sword Excalibur was forged and where he went to after he was wounded. So is this a bit of a weapon then? Well, it has the 3.5 liter V6 engine sitting in the front, driving the front wheels. This engine has near enough 300 horsepower. And in fact, I have already reviewed that in the Lexus ES. I'll put the link for that around this video somewhere. And additionally, I ran a Toyota Camry long-termer, which was also fitted with the same engine. It drives the front wheels here, like I said, through an 8-speed gearbox in this particular car. So here's what you really want to know. How much is it? Well, it's 144,900 dirhams, which is $40,000 for the SE Plus. And this range-topping limited edition is 164,900 dirhams, which is about $45,000. And the next question that you're obviously asking is, how does that compare with the Lexus? Well, the Lexus starts at 195,000 dirhams and goes up to 245,000 dirhams. So this is definitely considerably more affordable, let's say, than the Lexus. So the front, it's very easy to identify. One thing that everybody always speaks about when they talk about this car is this grille. It is absolutely massive, very substantial, and certainly makes a bold statement. And that was a very deliberate thing. I was fortunate enough a few weeks back to get to speak to Randy Stevens from the US, where this car was actually developed, and he was the chief engineer on the project, and he explained that it was a requirement to really make it stand apart from the Camry and the Lexus ES, and that's what they've done with this car. And even if you look along the sides, you'll see very distinctive lines cutting into the profile there. There's that line that goes along the top, along the door handles, and then suddenly cuts into the rear wheel arch. And similarly, that's sort of mirrored by two sets of lines at the front that start off from the front wheel arch and then sort of converge along the bottom of the line, so very distinctive. And at the rear, he told me that it's inspired by the design of a fighter jet afterburner. I'm not sure about that. Let me know what you think. We'll show you the rear in a minute. In addition to that, of course, this car typically appeals to an older generation in our market. But he said this very much, they're trying to appeal to a younger buyer with this car by making it more sportier. It is completely luxurious. The craftsmanship and the quality, as you'll see inside, is still amazing. But it's more about sportiness to an extent, which is why it has double wishbone suspension. It has larger brakes and better aerodynamics. And we'll have a look at that a little bit once we get to drive it, which we'll do shortly. But first, let's look at the practicality of it. And as usual, we're going to go check out the boot. So check out the rear. What do you think? I think there's this aspect of the way these lines come down over here, and the way this tucks underneath here with these lights, and then this comes out here to that exhaust that maybe does give it a little bit of a jet fighter look about it. Anyway, let me know what you think of that. There's a button here under the end. I could open it with my key, of course, as well. And when you open it, of course, big wide opening, big wide space to get your stuff in there, and of course, a big wide boot, as you'd expect from an Avalon. Very practical car, right? Lots and lots of room. The seats can be folded down. I can show you that with this one. In fact, all you do is you pull this lever here, for this side and that one for the other side, and it's a 60/40 split folding seat. And as you can see, the seat does go down in the back there. Not too much else back here. There's a few hooks to hang your shopping and stuff like that. And under here, you just have the tools and all of that sort of stuff. So certainly very spacious in the boot, but how about that extra wheelbase? Does that benefit in the passenger compartment in the rear? Time to find that out. Here we go, in the rear of this very rather luxurious car actually. I mean, just take a look at this quilted leather, and in fact, just look at the perforations in here. I mean, that's actually really nicely done. It's got a real quality feel to it, but also a real sense of style, and that actually comes through to the headrest as well. Interestingly, thing to note is that when you fold down these seats, is actually this center part, this part here, that folds down, leaving this one intact, so the belt never gets caught in the thing. And in fact, there is actually a hook there as well to hold it in place, although the belt is actually out of it at the moment. Of course, Isofix Chelsea anchor points there. Side airbags as well in this car. Again, just look at the quilted, the paneling. It's beautifully done, really nicely done. I even like the color of the leather in here. I think it's really nice. And this is the center armrest. Now, oddly enough, no compartment in this. I would have expected a little bit of storage space in there, but no, there isn't. You do get cup holders, and you get maybe like something to put your pens and stuff like that. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, you get lots of leg room. Check it out. This seat, of course, is set for me. That's my driving position, and I am 6'2", so for me, there's plenty of room. And again, I can't quite wiggle my feet because literally I have the seat on a lower setting, of course. But yeah, my feet are literally right up against the bottom of that. But other than that, plenty of room here, tons of room here, including the pockets, and actually a very comfortable place to be. Got my own AC vents back here, and also heated seats. Don't want those right now. And then also USBs. So two rear USBs. That's really handy. JBL speakers, JBL stereo in this car. I have to say the JBL that I tried in the Toyota CHR in the UK actually did sound a bit better to me than this one, but it's still a quality system. So that's pretty much it. A really nice place to be, very comfortable, very spacious. Got my reading lights here. Could maybe do with just a smidge more headroom, but other than that, it's absolutely fine. Let's see what the front of the car is like. There we are. Whoa, look at how far back the seat is. That's not my position, of course, if I press the start button. And then, of course, the seat comes forward, and I always like to show you how that all comes up. Look at that. That was kind of cool, wasn't it? Avalon and the Toyota logo in the middle there. So you won't forget what car you're in, that's for sure. And a very clear, very distinct instrument layout there. Very easy to use. Two big analog dials telling you exactly the information that you need. And then, of course, there's all your trip computer stuff, which is operated by here. So if you go across, if you press across the thing, you get your fuel consumption that way and that way. To be fair, it's been sitting around running, so that's why the fuel consumption is showing a little bit higher than you might normally think. I like to keep it on speedometer. It does also have a heads-up display as well, which you can adjust by, I think that's the button there that will do it, and that's also your trip meter. And then you can go down and you can go your compass, your stereo system. It's got all of these driver's aid systems, a lot of which I've obviously switched off because, they just get a little bit annoying really. But pre-collision assist, parking assist, blind spot monitor, rear cross traffic alert, that's actually quite useful. And then you've got all the other things here showing you there. So yeah, a lot of stuff on the car, as you would imagine, a lot of electronics. I won't go through everything in detail, and that's your typical Toyota layout there, your home, your menu button there, and then you get all the little icons you can go into it. It's got a map, it's got all the rest of it. The map, they should put the speed of the road on here. That's what most systems are doing these days. They haven't done that, so that would be my only thing there. You have an app screen as well. I guess it says mirror link. I guess you can call for help. I don't know if that's actually operational in our market. It'd be interesting to find that out. But generally quiet. Look at how this is done. It's like a one complete unit. It just sort of comes down here. It's very well integrated with these sort of very Lexus-y, I've got to admit, touch buttons here for the climate control and the display down here. It comes into this area here where you have basically a place to put your phone and stuff like that. Interestingly, it actually opens up, and inside there you've got your wireless charging. So you can leave the phone there, and actually that's switched on at the moment. I don't know why I'm not using it, but that's your wireless charging. I don't know if you can make that out. Can you make it? Yeah, I'll just bring it into focus for you. There you go. And that's quite well hidden. In fact, to be honest, you wouldn't really know that that's even there. And you click that back, and back it comes into there. But otherwise, quite a nice place to store stuff. A round cup holder and a kind of squarish round cup holder. I don't know. I don't know why that's a different shape to that one. I really don't. But anyway, over here you've got your 3 modes: Eco, Normal, Sport. When you press Sport, it goes red. When you press Eco, it goes green, but the middle one is in blue. There you go. Here's your 8-speed transmission with the sports mode, but no paddle shifts on this car. So it's sporty, but not that sporty, I think. And then you've got your big old center cubby box here with this tray that kind of comes out, if you like, so you can get more room. And over here you've got one USB there, then you've got 2 USB, and then you've got another USB. So you've got 3 USBs, plus 2 in the back, 5 USBs. Awesome, you rock. I love USBs. Sunroof up here, banker switches up here, remote buttons for the cruise control and stuff. Here's an interesting thing. The stereo to go back and forward on the songs or the channels is on this side, but the volume control is on this side, next to the voice activation. Again, check out this open pawl wood trim on here and on here that comes across there. And actually then there's a huge chunk of it that goes across there into that door. Again, that quilted leather on the doors, the nicely done perforated leather on the seats, little glove box there. But really, really nicely done, really well presented, very comfortable, very spacious, great seats, good all-around visibility, no real issue there. It does of course have reversing camera, but not a 360. Why not a 360? Really in a car of this sort of spec, I would expect a 360, but certainly it's got reversing camera. It's actually not too hard to maneuver. You can actually quite easily tell the extremities of the car despite that interesting front grille that it's got. So yeah, it's a really nice place to be in actually. I mean, pretty much you would say, why are you going to pay the extra for the ES when you get this level of quality? And I can see why. If you see the original video, and I'll put the link below or somewhere, that I did when I went for the regional launch, which was a kind of a weird event where they did in the House of Avalon with 3 designers showcasing jewelry, leather craftsmanship and fashion. And you can kind of see why they were doing that now, because of the level of craftsmanship that's actually gone into this car. But has the level of engineering shone through when it comes to the driving? Well, this is what we're about to find out next. So let's take it for a little bit of a drive, not too much, because despite what Randy said, this is a car really that you want to cruise in. You don't necessarily want to storm around in it or chuck it around corners. Having said that, let's chuck it around this corner. A little bit of body roll. I didn't go too hard into that, but it's not too bad. I mean, it keeps the body nice and steady. And actually, I've been driving around in normal most of the time, and it's been absolutely fine. And in Eco as well, you can't really tell too much difference between Eco and normal mode. But let's put it into sport mode. I will say that even in normal mode, the steering is nicely weighted. I have a bugbear, as you may know, with some manufacturers not knowing how to weight the steering, but this is very nicely weighted. Even in normal, you do feel that it's a proper helm. So let's put it into sport. Now it's all gone red in front of me now, and really, I think what Sport does is it just seems to change the gearing and the throttle response, and straight away the power there is delivered much more eagerly. You can hear it revving up, and even the car, the way that it kind of settles onto the road, I don't know if there is much of a change to the suspension, but definitely feels a little bit more eager, that's for sure. Cruises very nicely at speed, as you can imagine. This is what it's designed to do, cover long distances on motorways between cities in complete comfort and ease. So we'll just go around this roundabout, and again, good brakes, nice progressive linear, and turn-in is remarkably good, and grip is actually very, very tight indeed. Actually a little bit more than you would expect, and hardly any hint of understeer. And what seems to happen is that you get initial understeer as you turn in, and then it seems to kind of pull itself tighter. So I don't know if it's got torque vectoring. I heard no mention of it having torque vectoring, but it seems to behave a little bit like a torque vectoring system. So we're coming up to a much tighter right-hander here. Again, not too quickly through here, but let's see how it does. And That's interesting, because even under power, I just thought let's just bury the throttle mid-corner, and even under power, it doesn't understeer. The traction systems work. Wow, actually this is really good. The traction systems work very well to pull the car and pull it tighter and keep it on the line. And even through a higher speed, a faster speed corner there, it was very, very well planted and very true to the line that you wanted it to take. So really quite an astonishing car in that sense. It's a big old beast, it's a big old boat, but actually remarkably good to drive. And I had the same sensation when I drove the Lexus ES. So they're definitely, in terms of the platform, despite the fact that they're trying to differentiate the products, there is definitely that sense that this car is geared towards a little bit of that Lexus ES-like sportiness and doesn't betray its front-wheel drive inherent characteristics as much as you might think. In fact, it is quite a satisfying car. And like I said, overall, this is a car that you'd normally drive in normal, and it was comfortable, it's easy, it's quite serene. Road noise is just not much road noise, little bit of wind noise. That's pretty much all you get. Nice sound system, tremendous AC. I have to keep turning the temperature up because it seems to get too cold. Plus I've got cooled seats here in the front as well as heated seats. No other complaints about the car other than that. It's really, really good. And I think really, honestly, I'm about to have a little bit of a change myself here, because really the Avalon has never been a car that I've particularly been interested in or would have aspired to. And also because they were a bit odd looking. And I'm not saying that this one isn't odd looking, but it's odd looking in a very nice way. It's an unusual and quite striking design, a bit like what they've done with the Prius. I quite like the way the Prius looks. And in addition to that, it has this amazing interior, which is a very nice place to be, and a very good drive. So all of a sudden, I think you'd have to look at this Avalon as a very viable alternative to an entry-level Lexus. And in fact, why spend the money, save the money, get this instead. There you go, that's my review of the Toyota Avalon. Let us know what you think of the car, the review, me, anything else you like. And do please follow us on motoringme.com. Check us out on all of the social media. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. And whilst you're doing all that, don't forget to give me a follow on my Instagram account. I'd love to see you there. Thanks so much for watching. Until the next one.